It's Mary Magdalene who introduces John's version of this story. Mary has followed Jesus from the very beginning of his earthly ministry in the Galilee. She has followed Jesus down to Jerusalem, followed him to the base of the cross, where she watched her teacher, her Lord and Savior, die. And she has held up with the apostles, waiting out that Sabbath day, waiting to see what comes next. John tells us that Mary is the first to reach the tomb. And when she approaches it, she sees that it's empty. And now all of a sudden her sorrow that she has felt these last few days has turned to anger. And she exclaims, "They have taken my Lord." And Jesus approaches her. She confuses him for the gardener. And Jesus says, "Mary, it is I." And in that moment, Mary realizes that she has not lost a thing. We are taught as people who walk in the shadow of the cross to see that act of love as the greatest act of love the world has ever known. It occurred in one place and one moment in time, but that through that crucifixion, through the self-offering of Jesus on the cross, all of humanity is reconciled back to God. We are made whole through Jesus. We are taught to carry our own grief and to lay that at the foot of the cross and see that Jesus' suffering is an answer to our own suffering. But never in my lifetime, and maybe never even in your lifetime, has there ever been a moment in which the whole world has groaned with sorrow, a shared sorrow and a shared fear and anxiety. This is a unique moment in time, and a unique moment for us to understand the story that is the crucifixion and the empty tomb. Because if that was a moment in time that is meant to resonate for all of humanity, for all of time, now we live in a time where that sorrow is responding back, echoing back. And we're taught two things through that. One, that it's okay to name that sorrow and to name that anxiety and to see that that was lifted up on the cross. But all the more, we now live in a time where we get to see the echo of the hope that comes out of that empty tomb. Just as much as you are listening to the news that makes you think about how bad things are getting, and just as you brave running to the grocery store, or you check your checkbook and you worry about where your next check is to come from, how you will pay your bills, all of those things that are weighing us down, they are echoes of the grief and sorrow that the disciples knew on Good Friday. But friends, don't forget that now we have the opportunity to listen closely for the echo of the hope. That faint sound of stone rolling on stone, rolling a stone back, and hope billowing out from an empty tomb. In the end, Mary says to the apostles, "I have seen the Lord." And all of a sudden, her grief and despair and anger has turned to hope, and she realizes that death does not have the end. As you go about your lives now, look for those echoes of hope. Listen closely to them. Maybe you will see them at the grocery store as people are adding things to their cart for those who might be hungry or can't do grocery runs. Maybe it's in the patience that someone extends you that they otherwise would not have, or someone reaching out to you that you haven't spoken with in a long time. Maybe it's you doing those acts, you grabbing things at the grocery store, you reaching out, you being patient and kind. All of that contributes to the echo of hope. And if we live into that hope, then we will see that the despair the world hears now will not be the last sound. And death will not get the last word, because the echo of hope follows the echo of despair. The echo of everlasting life follows death. And in that we have nothing to fear. Happy Easter.